Thank one of my subscribers, Craig Jarrett, for this story. This story is actually very common down, especially in the southern states, and that's for them to use prison labor at the government mansions and capitol buildings. This practice has really been going on for centuries down there. Okay, even the White House was staffed with slaves at one point in time. So it's more common than you think. Um, it's just that up here in the North where I am, it's not practiced as much, where they take prison labor and use the prison labor um, through the government. And this also brings out another point that I would like to make. Their intention was never to let us out of slavery. This is why you still see them using us as the slave labor, even during the 21st century. And it's also why they keep mass incarcerating the very same people they enslaved. After slavery and slavery was never over. That's another thing we have to stop saying. We're no longer on the plantation like we used to be, but slavery is by no means over. As soon as we left the plantation, they slapped up all of these prisons because they didn't want to let you go at all. And the fact that they wrote in the Constitution, if you break the law, you have no rights. That shouldn't even be in the Constitution at all. To me, just them saying that in the Constitution is a human rights violation. And it just proves that they never wanted you to get out of slavery, ever. See, the devil never stops doing anything to you. When you start complaining, they just do it a different way, but they still do it. This is just the way these devils operate. Okay, this is just them. This is the way they operate, and they are not going to change this practice. And just from seeing every month, we always see an inmate get released from prison after being in there 20 and 30 years. America never cared about incarcerating innocent people, especially if those innocent people are Black. The reason why they take so long to get them out is because they are using them for this prison labor. Just think about it. All of these corporations now use prison labor to make their products or do any labor for their products. See, they get to pay pennies on the dollar for these inmates to do it, opposed to hiring someone out here that's not in jail. They got a problem with paying money for your labor. This Caucasoid man always had that issue, and he still does. He's got a problem. He always see the Caucasoid race wants something for nothing. And they not only practice that here, but they practice it globally. This is why they'll bomb a country and then get down on the ground and take over the oil fields, take over the poppy fields, or any other resources they have in those countries. He wants something for nothing. And they've been getting something for nothing way too long from us. But this same devil will tell you to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. We have yet to see them do it. We haven't seen them do it even once. We haven't seen this devil even try to do their own labor. If it's not black people, they try to use the Mexicans. But they don't get out here and do their own labor. They're always looking for somebody else to make a slave out of. It's just like, I remember years ago, especially when we started seeing the Mexicans a lot doing the jobs, I would even hear Caucasoid saying, I would prefer the Mexicans. I would prefer the Mexicans. Yeah, because they always need someone to enslave. And personally, I don't care if they don't want to use black people for slave work and they prefer to use the Mexicans. But see, one thing you don't realize is all of these foreigners in this country, they ain't gonna be loyal to you, Caucasoid man, woman, and child. You let a war break out in America, they gonna go right back over the border to their countries. And these other people that are in here, they gonna just fly the hell out of here and go back to their countries. Foreigners have no loyalty to you, and they don't care that they have no loyalty to you either. And that's something black people got to start practicing too in order to break the mental slavery. We got to stop being loyal in the system that has subjugated us, oppressed us, and murdered us. We do not owe 1 ounce of loyalty to this slave nation. America is and always will be a slave nation. It need slavery to survive. It has never stood on her own without slavery, ever. Modern day slavery, many southern states have prison inmates working in governor's mansion and capitol buildings. This is an old tradition, ladies and gentlemen, and it's always been in existence, even during slavery. All right, it was an activist, and he was meeting um, at the governor's mansion in Louisiana. And what happened was, while he was there, he noticed a black man in a jumpsuit, and he was being watched over by a correctional officer, like they always did. You even see this in their movies, where they'll have the white man with a rifle on a horseback, and you'll see the black prisoners working the railroad and stuff like that. Um, and you can see this hasn't changed. And he was standing over this black man with his badge and gun. And then he saw another black man come out on the grounds, and he was actually serving white people lunch. And usually they'll have, just to sum it all up, about 20 to 25 inmates working at the Capitol or governor's mansion. And this practice is in about maybe about 7 states altogether: Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Missouri, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Georgia. That's where this is practiced still. Some of the other states, they don't do this, but it was more widely used probably over a century ago, or even 50 years ago. It was more states. Um, and here's the sick thing. When they work up at the Capitol, inmates in Louisiana work in the Capitol are paid anywhere from 2 cents and 20 cents per hour. That's slavery. 2 and 20 cents per hour. And the only ones that are not allowed to be there as an inmate. Inmates that have like violent crimes in their background, where they murdered, or some type of heinous crime where they might have hurt or injured people. Those are not the inmates they want. See, they want the kind of inmates that are what Black people are in jail for, mostly non-violent crimes, a lot of them drug crimes. So they want the non-violent inmate to work on the grounds and inside of the governor's mansion. See, because of what they wrote in the Constitution about you have no rights once you become an inmate, this is just so you can never complain about the human abuses that you're dealing with on a daily basis. So once you get inside of prison, it's not like you can call 911 to help you. You're pretty much screwed. So if you get raped in there or beaten in there is really no one for you to call. And in many of these instances, the guards are just not paying attention to a lot of the things that are going on in those prisons. But this practice went all the way back during even the Civil War across the South, where they would have slaves on the grounds of the governor's mansion. And a lot of times, if you remember, I did a video on all of their slave codes and black codes that they would use and pig laws. And this is how a lot of Black people got picked up for vagrancy, because, see, they needed the labor around these governor mansions, and they needed the labor back out in the slave field in these plantations, and that's what they used the vagrancy laws for. Kind of like what the vagrancy law of today is resisting arrest. Why are you stopping me? Oh, you look like somebody. You look like a suspect. This is the new one they use all the time. And then when they proceed to try to handcuff you, stop resisting, stop resisting. That's just the new vagrancy of today. You look like somebody. Don't resist. Vagrancy laws, modern day vagrancy laws. That's all that is. And of course, also another thing they always had in the South are prison plantations. And you can even see this depicted in some of the movies that they do. You'll see the prisoners all chained up together, what they call the chain gang, doing work out in plantations. And then you always have your typical Caucasoid man that's overseeing the inmates. Nothing has changed. This is exactly how it's done today. So Hillary Clinton actually was recently called out on doing this. I don't know if any of you caught it in the news. And she came up under a lot of scrutiny, of course, but it didn't come out while she was running for president. It came out after the fact. How convenient, right? How convenient. So I'm going to leave the link to this article in the description box so that you can actually read this for yourself. But it's just your typical modern day slavery that's still being carried out in this country. Nothing has changed, ladies and gentlemen. We're just in a different era. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to this channel, please do. Peace, family.